Morning, this is your Stat Sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is observation versus experiments. And this is going to be assignment number 15. This is multiple choice, and this is probably going to be a reasonably long set of videos. So I'm going to break this assignment into two videos. All right, I know you can see that first answer is C, but cover up and act we didn't. And the reason I'm breaking two videos is there's a whole lot of reading. Two studies are run to compare the experiences of a family living in a high-rise public housing to those families living townhouses or subsidized rentals. The first study interviewed 25 families. When I see interviews, I'm going, it's probably probably an observation because we weren't assigned. We're interviewing them doing what they normally do, who have been in each government program for at least 1 year. So they were not randomly assigned. They were just being observed doing what they're doing. So the first one, it looks like it's an observation. The second study, randomly assigned. If I see the word assign, I'm randomly assigned, I'm going probably experiment to 20, assigns 25 families to each program, and we're assigning them to both programs. So we have comparison. So this is definitely an experiment because we have random assignment and assigned to two or more programs for comparison. So the first one appears to be an observational study. The second one appears to be an experiment, and that's letter C, which you already had seen. All right, moving on. So two studies are run to determine the effects of low levels of wine consumption on cholesterol level. The first study measures the cholesterol level of 100 volunteers who were not permitted to have consumed wine for a year, and then compared to those with cholesterol level after 1 year. So, during which time each volunteer was assigned to drink 1 glass of wine daily. When it says not permitted, that means I assigned them not to drink wine. I told them to. I imposed that they could not drink wine. They were assigned. If it's assigned, that's an experiment. Further, it says they were later assigned to drink 1 glass daily. So they were assigned here once, and then they were assigned here. So they got measured here and they got measured here. That means we have an experiment because we have assignment. So the first one's an experiment. The next one, the second study measures the cholesterol level of 100 who have not consumed alcohol. So this is observing them doing what they already do. Randomly picks half of the group for 1 year while they drink no alcohol, and finally measures the levels again. So we randomly picked. So we randomly picked and they put them in one group. One group they assigned to drink alcohol, even though they didn't say they assigned them, they picked them and they said, you're going to drink 1 glass of wine. And they told the other one, you're going to drink no alcohol. So randomly assigned, randomly picked. So we're using the word pick here instead of the word assign, but they were randomly picked or randomly assigned. Therefore, we have an experiment again. So both of these are experiments, all right, which happens to be letter E. Number 3, in a 1992 London study, 12 out of 20 migraine sufferers were given chocolate whose flavor was masked. Were given, guess what? They didn't say the words assigned. They're being tricky here, but they were assigned chocolate whose flavor was masked by peppermint, while the remaining sufferers received a similar. Guess what? Received. They were given. They were assigned, because when you assign something, you were given something, you were imposed on. So that right there tells me that one is an experiment. So this first one is experiment. Within 1 day, 5 of those receiving chocolate complained of migraines, while no complaints were made for any of those who did not receive chocolate. Which of the following is a true statement? Well, both of these are experiments because one was assigned to chocolate and one was assigned to a control group that was not receiving chocolate. Now, you haven't talked about control groups yet. Control group is someone who's not receiving the treatment. So they weren't receiving chocolate. All right. So we have two groups, and they were given or assigned chocolate or not. So that one is also an experiment. Moving on to problem number 4. Suppose you wish to compare the average class size of all mathematics classes to the class size of English classes. Now, it doesn't say the word all, but wouldn't be the best way to measure, go check all of them? And if you did, because I mean, even at Reagan, we sit there, well, this class has this many, this class has this many, and we could go, oh, we know what the size is of all the math classes, and we know what the size is of all the English classes. And if we know all, then we've taken a census. All right. Please remember, a census is a type of an observational study. So if we survey all, we have a census, and a census is an observational study. So our best choice would be census if it exists, but a census is an observational study. And it turns out we do have the word census for letter A, so census is our best choice. But please remember, a census is a type of observational study, okay? All right. And we do have observational study. So these two are related, but the better choice is census because we surveyed all. Tricky question. Be careful. The census is a type of observational study, but this is more specific than that. That's why we're choosing the word census. All right, which of the following are true statements? Based on careful use of control groups, experiments can often indicate cause and effect relationships. Yes, experiments can indicate cause and effect. Observational studies cannot. So that's a true statement. So number one's a true statement. While observational studies may suggest relationships, great care must be taken, including cause and effect. Yeah, we should not conclude cause and effect. So this is also true. They can definitely suggest relationships. They can suggest relationships. They can suggest associations. And they can suggest correlation. But we can't conclude that there's a cause and effect. Our complete census is the only way to establish a cause and effect. First off, that's false. A census is an observational study. Only experiments can prove cause and effect. So this is a false statement. All right. Because census is an observational study, as we mentioned in the one above. So 1 and 2 are true. Which of the following, number 6, which of the following are true statements? In an experiment, researchers randomly assign people to different treatment groups. Love that phrase, randomly assigned. That right there, yes, they're randomly assigned to different, which means we have more than one treatment group. So this is a true statement. In an observational study, the participants select the group they are in. Yeah, I selected to do what I'm doing. I selected to eat a lot of potato chips. I selected not to exercise. I selected to go running. I selected not to go running. You didn't tell me to. You didn't assign me to. I'm already doing it on my own. That's a true statement. A control group is most often a self-selected group in an experiment. No, this is false. We randomly assign to groups in experiments. So you don't get to choose your group in an experiment. In an observational study, you choose your group. All right. In an experiment, you don't. So the group does not get to choose it. They're randomly assigned. So this 3 is false. Our best answer again is 1 and 2. In one study on the effect of niacin and cholesterol, 100 subjects who acknowledged being a long time takers had their cholesterol levels compared with those who had never taken niacin. All right, so 100 subjects who had been a long time niacin takers, were they randomly assigned? Was this 100 randomly assigned? And it's like, no assignment. If there's no assignment, this is an observational. So the first one is an observational. In a second study, 50 subjects were randomly chosen to receive niacin and 50 were chosen to receive a placebo. So they said use the word chosen, but that's a code word again. They were randomly selected, they were randomly assigned. So here we have random assignment. All right, 50 to niacin and 50 to not. So this second one is an experiment. So the first one is an observational study. The second one is an experiment. All right, so we're on to, that gives us letter B. All right, moving on to number 8. In one study, subjects were randomly given either 500 or 1,000. Ooh, randomly. It says the word given. I don't really like that word, but that means they were assigned. They were randomly chosen. All right. So this one, they're given to two groups. So this first one is definitely an experiment. In a second study, people responded to a questionnaire asking about the average number of hours they sleep and the number of colds they came down with. Was there a random assignment? Were you randomly assigned to sleep that many hours? Were you randomly uh, assigned the number of colds you had? And the answer is no. So no assignment. If there's no assignment, no treatment given. We just, hey, you report what you're already doing. So you're reporting what you're already doing. The second one is an observational study. Okay, moving on. Number 9, which of the following statements are true? In experiment, some treatment is randomly assigned to groups. True. In an observational, information is gathered on an already existing condition. Yeah, I already have a cold. I already take the medication. I already run. I already eat potato chips. That's also a true statement. Sample surveys are observational studies, not experiment. Ooh, this is also a true. Sample because a survey, I'm asking you, hey, what do you do? I didn't assign you to do it. I just asked you what you are doing. If I'm asking you what you are doing, you're already doing it. You weren't randomly assigned. That makes it an observational study. So 1, 2, and 3 are all true statements. All right, last one for this video. Number 10. A study is made to determine whether studying Latin helps students achieve higher scores on the verbal section of the SAT. In comparing records of 200 students, half of whom have taken, I'm almost passed it up. Comparing records. All right, half of whom have taken at least 1 year of Latin. It is noted the average SAT is higher for those 100 students who have taken than those who have not. We weren't assigned to take Latin. We were just looking at records, half of them who, if they had been assigned, it would be an experiment. No assignment. This first one is an observational. All right. Does appear that Latin scores help, but there was no assignment, so we didn't control for outside variables. Based on the study, a guidance counselor began to recommend Latin for students who want to do well. Which answer is wrong? While the study indicates a relationship, yes, it does. It does indicate a relationship. It does not prove causation. It's an observational study, and only experiments can prove causation. So it does not prove causation. This is a true statement because it's an observation. Only experiments can prove causation. There well could be a confounding variable responsible for the seeming relationship. Well, when I look at this, it's like, what's a confounding variable? It means there's an outside variable that might be impacting this. Consider this. Who takes Latin? Smart students or dumb students? And the answer is probably smart students. Okay. Are smart students going to have higher SAT scores or lower SAT scores? And the answer is they're probably going to have higher SAT scores. So there's a confounding variable. The reason they may have, the Latin students may have higher SAT scores is because they may be smarter. Just like those students taking multivariate calculus probably have higher SAT scores. Why? They're smarter or have worked harder. Okay. So this is also true. There could be an underlying variable that's causing the higher scores. Another thing is, well, that I'll continue, I'll stop with that. Self-selection here makes drawing the counselor's conclusion difficult. Yes, it's an observation. Observation means you self-selected to take Latin. You weren't forced to take Latin. Well, maybe your parents forced you to, but You were not randomly assigned. So self-selection means it's an observational study. We cannot draw conclusions. We cannot show causation. All right. Conclusions means causation. We can only do that with an experiment. We cannot do that with an observational study. So this is true. This is an observational study and not an experiment. Yeah, there was no assignment. They self-selected their treatment. So E, none of these are incorrect. All right, I hope this helps. Look forward to seeing you on the next one, and we'll go over questions 11 through 20. Thanks for watching.